Evening, everybody. How we doing tonight? Hope you've all been good. Hope it was all a good week for everybody. And as Dogbone said, who got out of the show for under 300? Because I did. Surprisingly, I did. I surprised myself even. Typically, I can't get out of there for less than like 400. But I was a good boy because I have a lot of things I would like to get done to my boat, most of which is just general repair and upkeep stuff. So I went pretty easy on myself for the show. Did I want to? Not particularly. I really wanted to buy a bunch of stuff, but I was good. I got a couple of grand I got to drop in my boat. Okay, I don't have to. It's not quite a couple of grand. It's probably $1,000 between fixing the trailer and then redoing a bunch of brake work. And then I would like to get a couple of things cleaned up paint-wise, especially on the outboard, and then because I made the state team through New Hampshire Bass Nation, I got that sweet state team discount with Minn Kota, so I'd love to get some Raptors on my boat. Things like that. Oh, you know what? And then Freddie, by the way, it was great meeting you at the show, and I could not agree with this more. I am more than ready for open water. The way I am tracking right now, I'm probably not going to get on the water up here, regardless of it being ready or not, until March is going to be my guess. And probably after the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, which we'll talk about both the New England Expo a little bit more. The New Hampshire Outdoor Expo that's coming up in Milford, New Hampshire at the Hampshire Dome, March 7th through 9th. Talk about that a little bit. And I don't know anything else. So for everybody that is here so far, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it as always. Remember, tonight is open topic night. So I'm here to answer any and all questions that you have. So as you're thinking about it, just start throwing them in there. I'll start grabbing them and we'll go through everything. And for everybody that's watching, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, doesn't matter. Please drop a like. It helps immensely. And itchy nose. Yeah, something I always keep forgetting to ask about. I'm trying to get better about it. I will show you what I spent my money on. I know that Beast Coast got a lot of everybody's money. I know a lot of Swimbaits got a lot of everybody's money. And, actually, talking to a good amount of vendors, everybody did pretty good. Some of the higher value stuff, so. It seems like purse strings are a little bit tighter right now for that than usual, but that's okay. And Tim, no whiskey currently. That's for after the show. Alec, my wife's in the room. Can neither confirm nor deny if I was over and under. That's phenomenal. And you know what? Seeing that from Alec has reminded me that there's one thing I would like to tell you guys to try and take advantage of it while you can. We've talked about FXR fishing, FXR Pro Fish, and all of the apparel they wear, but especially the rain gear, and that significant discount code that we have to share. I'm contractually obligated not to share it publicly. I can share it via email or direct messages or text messages, whatever the case. I just can't post it publicly. It is changing. It will still be extremely good. It is currently significant. So if you are on the fence about buying new rain gear, I strongly recommend that you reach out because I can't even tell you what the difference is. But if you reach out to me, I can tell you what it currently is now and what it will change to any day now. So please let me know and I will get that for you because that's going to disappear real fast. I already had 2 people in the last couple of days go and buy some stuff while getting that significant discount code, Alec being one of them. So he can confirm what it is. Jody, I kind of had FOMO not being there. Yeah. That's understandable, sir. Oh, wait. Dog bone still 5 to 6 inches thick of ice. That's not good. That's not what I want to hear. It's all good. So I actually will be out on open water in 2 weeks, going down to my dad's place in Cape Coral, Florida. I can do some research. Last time I talked about this, someone dropped a comment on that stream saying that that's like pretty much just pure salt water up in the canals there. I had assumed it was going to be brackish. Apparently, that's not the case. So I got to do a little bit of more research to figure out what it is I'm lucky to go up against down there in those canals. But I'm also hopefully going to have a shot at driving over, probably not to Okeechobee. I don't know. Maybe just because it's Okeechobee. Why not? But there's a couple other places over there that are halfway between my dad's place and where Andrew lives near Orlando. So I would like to get in a spot where, I can meet up with him. We can go out and take the boat out and fish together again while I'm down there. Regardless, I'll be fishing in 2 weeks, which will feel really good. Little mini vacation while we're down there. That will be nice. I did see a comment on Facebook. They said, when you finally get on open water, what is the first bait that you're going to throw? And while it probably won't make sense unless I get lucky conditions wise, when I get to that point, that's the one first thing I'm going to throw when I get my chance. 7-inch trick shad from Bull Shad. It is the only thing that I bought at the New England Fishing Expo in a beautiful gold. I talked to my buddy, Brian Correa, and he was like, what do you want? And I was like, you know what? I'm constantly buying yellow perch primarily, black crappie, sunfish. Give me something different. I want your recommendation. And he had this sly smile and he was like, okay, you should buy this. Done. So I am very, very excited to throw that. Cool thing is about that gold, he said in tannic water, it like glows. Kind of like you get off a white bait in really clear water. It has like a glow around it. That's what he said I'll get out of this. I have a lot of tannic water around the areas I like to fish, specifically for the type of structure I can fish around in those places. I do think this is going to be good. Plus, there's golden shiners in every single pond to fish near my house. So that'll work. Dogbone has a winter gear question. I'm going to pin that. We'll come back to this. There you go. Alec, can't confirm the discount is ridiculously good. The new amount will also be good, just not as ridiculous. That's a good way to put it. Current discount is ridiculous. The upcoming discount that I can share is still stupid good and better than most promotional staff people would get. And that's a little bit of a shot, but you know what I mean. It's good. It's stupid good. So there you go. E-Stack, plastics and glide baits, sucked me in at the expo. You did a great job Saturday at the hog trough. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. Let me double check these. There we go. Alex, Sean, my parents lived in Cape Coral when they first moved down there. Meant to talk to you, but didn't at the show. I can gather some info for you with the brackish areas. Yes, please. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. I'll give you hit me on any friggin' social media. I'll give you my number. We can talk. And that'll be easier. Dogbone might drive down to the Cape tomorrow and check ice there. Please do so, because there is going to be a small window where I might be able to get out before the New Hampshire show. Let's talk New England Expo really quick. But again, it is open topic night, so please start hitting me with any and all questions that you have. And I'm going to start pinning them, and I'll start going through them. It'll be good. The New England Expo went phenomenal for me. For Big Bass Dreams, Defiant Fishing, BY USA, and Black Spirit Swimbaits, it went pretty damn good. Right now, we're all talking, as well as with another brand, about what we can do for the New Hampshire show. But regardless, I will be there. But it went well enough at the New England Fishing Expo that I think we're going to have a really strong turnout for the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, which would be phenomenal. But no, I don't know. For me, for the New England Fishing Expo, it went like, I was going to look this up to try and figure out how to put this into words. Like, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain my thoughts and my feelings on this. I've told you guys 1,000 different times and the same dozen different ways that I don't think highly of myself in that sense. Like, I don't think that I'm a big deal in anything that I do with this. I enjoy this. There could be 5 of you here watching and I would still be doing this because I love talking fishing. It's just part of who I am. It is a significant part of who I am. And I just love it so much that, it doesn't matter. I never once in a million years thought this would turn into anything. I still don't think it's really turned into anything. Like, I know it has, but I don't know. It's still dropping the bucket in the greater fishing industry, if you will. And I didn't set out to make it a thing. I just needed a creative outlet. It still still remains as being that. And I was shocked at how many people showed up to the show. And I've been shocked before. The New England show last year I thought was pretty nuts, and we sold more apparel than I thought we would. And growth wise, I guess on social media, nothing's really changed in the past year. A little bit on YouTube, but everything else, not really. It's been pretty stagnant. My own fault. I'm just not as active on there this year as I was in years past. And it was insane. We sold out of almost all of the apparel, with the exception of hats. Hats, we still have a good amount left, which is good. We'll just carry those to New Hampshire. But dude, I tell you, I'm humbled. I guess that's not true, because like I feel like saying you're humbled is incorrect, because that to me means like you had an inflated ego and you got brought down, brought back down. I was shocked, and there's no other way to put it. Same with the seminars. Friday was a light day. Wasn't a ton of people, but still had some people there. Saturday, all the seats were taken. People standing around both at the hog trough and at the seminar stage. Sunday, I was the first one up, 10:30 a.m., half an hour after the show opened. Same deal. All the seats taken, standing room around it. I didn't even think about the seminars. I just rocked with them because they were topics that I am very well versed on, and I felt great about it. So I just rolled with it. I got to do something a little bit different than years past. I did screw up and forget my presentation for the seminar stage, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I don't know, man. I was just really, really insanely happy with how it went. And I am extremely excited to kind of take that and go to New Hampshire and see what we can do. On that topic of apparel, like I said, we sold out of almost everything. We came home with one flannel out of everything that we brought, and I think like 4 hoodies. So we're going to do a restock on that. And then I'm going to ask that you guys please pay attention to the social media, Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to compile that information. I'd like to hear your thoughts on sun shirts, and specifically color combinations. I'm thinking we're going to go with a hooded long sleeve sun shirt, like a solid color, not like varying colors on the sleeves or anything. If I could work out something in FXR ahead of time, like that would be ideal, but I don't know if I can pull that off. So let me explore that as well over the next coming days. I got to move fast in this regardless. So we'll see, because we're 4 weeks away from New Hampshire. So I have very little flexibility in what I can do on this. Sean, currently right now, when we're talking about the sun shirts, it's going to be no face cover. If I could do an FXR one, they have a nice one that's like a couple of really nice colors, relatively plain, like nothing overly crazy on the designs, for what just dropped in the spring 2025 catalog that had the face covers. And I would love to do one of those if I could. I just don't know if I can make that happen in such a short amount of time. And they would not be cheap. Nothing about that would be cheap. So I don't know. We'll see. Might have to explore that in the future. But for what I'm currently planning on doing, for what I can get, make it cost effective for people, is no face mask, no face cover, whatever you want to call it. So there's that. And then, okay, New Hampshire Outdoor Expo again. I'm going to be taking all this stuff. I'm going to kind of reconfigure the booth a little bit from just, I guess, a few things I noticed from the New England show that I think will improve the overall display of what I'm doing. Better make that connection that I am a YouTube channel and not just like a brand or an apparel brand, which I got a lot of those questions. So I will be able to answer that as well, address that. And that's pretty much it. So start shooting me questions. I already did see one. Give me a second here before I go to that, because I want to start grabbing some of these. This is going from Kyle from Facebook, which is good. Justin, you should, because a lot of people look up to you, and those who appreciate it appreciate you. Well, and thank you. Like that was the big thing that I got a lot of, was just thank yous, from people that have learned from me. And like, dude, that's the goal. Like I'm having fun with it. I like teaching. I do a lot of that in my own career as well. I was a supervisor for several years. I lead a lot of projects, and I enjoy that process of teaching somebody something, regardless of what it is, that regardless of the complexity of it. I love teaching because I like to see people like have that like aha moment, when, especially when we're diving into something that is just like truly beyond their comprehension, and all of a sudden we get there. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm pretty happy with it. So thank you, Justin. All right, that's another good one. Oh yeah, and I saw snow kept away, which unfortunate. Sorry to hear that, man. But hopefully you can make it to the New Hampshire show, and I still owe you your hoodie. I have not forgotten. Who else? Just bear with me for a second. I don't have my buddy in the background to grab all these comments, so I am doing it on the fly as best as I can. Oh, Kyle, great job at the expo as well. I'm gonna grab one of your sweatshirts. Thank you, very much appreciated. And yes, I will have sweatshirts at the show. I'm not sure how many, but we'll get there. I'll leave that there for you all to look at because that truth, Douglas show specials were just silly. Like they were really, really, really good. That and that. You know what? I'm gonna throw that and I'll pull this really quick. Dropman, you're the only channel in New England I can relate to for my lakes in Connecticut. Well, and thank you. You know, like that's kind of the whole premise, right? You know, just trying to get all over New England and being able to showcase the uniqueness of it, and then also the variety within inside of that uniqueness. I think that that's what makes our region so special. But you know, a lot of it translates like that whole northern half of the country. A lot of that's very much the same. So I don't know. All right, on to the questions. And again, it's open topic night. So please keep them coming for everybody that popped in here after the very beginning intro. Thank you. I appreciate it as always, especially those that shared the stream wherever you shared it. Any social media channels, like all of that has been hugely helpful. I heard that a lot at the show. Like, oh, hey, I learned about this because like my friend shared it or, you know, so-and-so told me about it. And like I said, you know, growth through word of mouth, friend to friend to friend, friend to acquaintance, like it's about one of the strongest ways anything can grow. So I appreciate people that are, you know, going that extra mile to do that. So Dogbone, winter gear. I am currently using the FXR ProFish Excursion bibs and jacket. It's ice fishing gear. It is nice, but 99% of the time is overkill. Because I don't go out in the boat when it's like really, really windy too. And I'm obviously not kneeling down the ice. More often than not, I wear just, you know, jeans and my ice fishing bibs. And then I will wear one of the FXR, you know, UPF long sleeve shirts because it's also moisture wicking for my base layer, t-shirt over that, hoodie, and then just my rain jacket just to keep the wind off of me. And that I'm plenty because the bibs come up so high and they're so thickly insulated that those alone keep, you know, the vast majority of my body and especially my core warm. My last trip out was up on Champlain and it was breezy, plus the snow was coming in. That's when I'll put on my, you know, also my excursion jacket, something pretty heavy duty. They also have the Tri-Laminate Pro insulated versions. And those are, so the excursion, the ice fishing stuff is a warmth rating of like 8, 9, or 10. They have varying kind of models that, but they're all in that same range. And then you have the Tri-Laminate Vapor Pro, Vapor Pro Tri-Laminate series insulated. Those are a warmth rating of 4. Andrew got that jacket. I didn't. And that coupled with his rain, he had insulated bibs like me as well, the ice fishing bibs, but a different brand. They weren't as good. And like that was more than enough for him. And he just wore a hoodie and a t-shirt underneath it. So he had one less layer. They didn't have the moisture wicking layer underneath that. And I'm still debating. I might get that, but for the most part, I think by the time I get back on the water, I'm not going to be really able to utilize that. I'm hoping. So I'm just going to go with all new rain gear. I've had mine for 2 years. I cannot say enough good things about the Tri-Laminate Vapor Pro. Just the rain gear is stupid good. They have a new Adventure Light series. I'm not really keen on it because it's missing like the neoprene cuffs to keep the water from going down in your sleeve. Like that's one huge feature I want in my rain gear. So I'm probably not going to go that route. I'm just going to go with, the this past year's, which I guess they're going every 2 years on their heavy duty, like their, premier rain gear. So I got 2 years out of mine. They're still like completely waterproof. I wash them and treat them accordingly. They still work just as new, but I want to be able to continue every 2 years of new stuff so I can keep up with the new stuff and make sure and test it for you guys, be able to speak to it that it's as good as I think it is. So there you go. Kyle, what are some of your favorite Massachusetts lakes to fish? I will not say specifics. There is one in particular that Andrew and I pulled up, that 27-pound bag of largemouth several years ago. That's one of my favorites because it's a little bit bigger and it's got a significant variety of structure to fish, which is something I really like. I've been there kind of like late May when you still could as a non-resident, and it was a year that we had a really early spring. So that pre-spawn bite was just lights out good. And it was in the rain. I got to see my buddy Steve throw one of the first gen Pat's rats that was ever made, because he used to live next to Paul when, like, literally the first year that Paul was building Swimbaits. My buddy Steve was out in California. They became friends because they're both bass fishermen. And I was like, wow, that's nutty. Like, I've got a big rat, but that's a different level of big. Dude catches a 5'11", then misses something that was probably in the neighborhood of 7 pounds. It was dumb. It was big. That's one place that I can definitively say in Mass that I like. There are a bunch of places that are all like residents only that I can only touch for like March. and all of them are maybe 150 acres or smaller. And I love them all. They're all very, very similar to what I fish here in New Hampshire. There's not a whole lot of difference to them. A little bit less vegetation, a lot of them. Not New Hampshire. Massachusetts is very anti-weed in their anti-aquatic vegetation. So they do a lot of weed kills, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then after that, I can't even get down to Mass. Mass, I only get to fish in the middle of winter. Really is what it comes down to. I will say I like Mashpee Wakeby. I can share that one because who doesn't fish that? That's got to be one of the most well-known lakes. It's cool because it's so deep. And my favorite thing about it is because of how close it is to the ocean down there on the Cape, it is significantly deeper than the lake is above sea level, which is like kind of weird, but it's a really cool spot. Then there's a couple other places down there that I really like that are not too far from there. Anything down that area on either side of the canal, I've fished a lot of those places, and I'm fond of them. They're fun. They have structure. Anything that's got structure, I'm good. I'm happy. Freddie, what's your suggestion on FXR rain gear, spring, summer, fall? So I already touched upon it, but the Tri-Laminate Vapor Pro, whatever it is, the Tri-Laminate Pro, I love that rain gear. It's got a higher breathability rating to it, but it's still like heavy duty to it. So like it can hold up to the rigors of bouncing around the boat when you're fishing in a tournament in the rain and just kind of moving around a lot of things more rapidly than I say you would in a casual environment. And it has held up for me extremely well, again, over the last 2 years. And actually, I'm pretty sure my bibs are now 3 years old. The jacket's newer, the bibs are older, or I got that vice versa. Either way, one's 2 years old, the other one's 3 years old, and they still are perfectly waterproof. I've washed them 3 times, and I've retreated them 3 times, all with the FXR stuff. They're wash and their treatment for that specific line. And they're still phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about it. I like having all the extra pockets. Everything's nice and watertight, so is good. Ditch that, drop that, get that. Tim had a good one. Crankbaits, lipless, square bills, colors, and your choice time of year. Crankbaits and I are on a little bit of a love-hate relationship hiatus here. I have not had that much luck cranking in a couple of years. That being said, like the limited success I've had cranking, fire craw in the spring, whether it be a square bill or a flat-sided square bill or a lipless crank, like anything fire craw, fire tiger, whatever you would call it. Well, no, fire tiger is more that kind of chartreuse color. Anything red craw pattern really is what it comes down to for all of those. I really like a square bill in that. I would say the flat-sided square bill the flat-sided crankbait has started to outproduce just a standard square bill. I tried getting some jerk baits in that color, but I haven't found like a non-knockoff one with like a true, kind of fire craw that I've been looking for it. So I don't know. Those are, I like all those in the spring, like lipless, dude, you can fish that early. That used to be my jam for a long time. Like low 40s up until they start spawning, a lipless is deadly. And I like fishing it like a blade bait, where it's more like kind of vibrating and bopping it off the bottom, a little lift, fall, swim a little bit, pump it, let it fall. And then, crankbaits and that, well, both square bill and that flat-sided crankbait, I just like getting up shallow. I like running them really shallow. So I like shallow models when they're getting into that movement, into that shallower vegetation that has survived over the winter to an extent. Fishing those around that. For some reason, a flat-sided crankbait seems like it doesn't seem to. It does better than a normal crankbait earlier in that cold water. Then when you get into like the heart of summer and they're moving up into some of that like shallower vegetation, I don't do a ton of deep cranking. I've tried it. I like the idea of it, and I wish I was more successful with it. I can only speak to the consistent success I've had with actual shallower cranking. But like, dude, if we're like slapping them on a jig pretty good, or we're getting a short struck, like literally anything to indicate to me that those fish are shallow around some good solid structure, give me a square bill. Just give me like a standard like 4-foot diving square bill, and I'm going to bounce that thing off of every log and rock that I can find. And that bite is just so amazing. It's like reeling it into the back of a pickup truck. It's so good. And then for those at that time of year in the summer, I just keep it natural. I find anything that's similar to a pumpkin seed or a sunfish or yellow perch, even craw patterns. I haven't really tried a lot of obnoxious colors, so I can't speak to that. But even something kind of like shad colored can do really well in the right conditions. My uncle has schooled me on the shad colored crankbait all my life. He still does. The few times I get out there and he's out there at the same time, still kicks the crap out of me with that. Brandon got some Defiant line from my Roman maid mother at the Schomburg show. That's awesome. What line did you get? Because I'm very, very curious on that. Grab that. Don't worry. Sorry. Just going through, grabbing as many comments as I can. That might be another one. Aha. Yeah, Dogbone, you're right. Cape is not that friendly during summer for boats. Most are resident tag only. Yeah, exactly. It is a problem. That's why it's so hard for me to get down there as much. Mike, any more info on the ice fishing shanty explosion? Some folks are saying methane built up under the ice. Yeah, I saw that, and that is correct. There's a body of water that typically has a lot of methane in it, and the family was not aware. They drilled into it inside of their hut. They had their propane, little buddy heater going, and just popped. I saw those pictures. It was heartbreaking. Jody, you're absolutely right. Better than hate. I don't hate crankbaits. I just wish they're a little more consistent for me so that, we can have a more love relationship. It's me. It's 100% me. It's not the fish. I'm just not giving it the time that I know I should be. That's for damn sure. Justin, I know you've covered this, but what's your preference on beginner's rod and reel combo for bigger swim baits? Boy, one of two routes you can go on this. And now when you're talking about this, I'm assuming you mean like big boy swim baits, like some heavier stuff that requires quote unquote specialty rod and reel and line setup. Now I'm going to guess that's going to be in the 4 ounces or heavier range, maybe as low as 3 ounces. Either way, you're going to need a stout rod. And for me, for swim baits, I need a rod that has a much broader range for what it says it's capable of than what I'm throwing on it. If I'm throwing a 3 ounce bait, I want a 1 to 4 ounce rod or something a little bit heavier. I want my bait to kind of land in the middle of the potential recommended range of what that rod is. I've been using the Lew's Super Duty rods the most. I have 3 of them still. I have 2 1 to 4 ounce models, and then I have the 4 to 10 ounce model. They're relatively cheap. I think they're still $200. I've only broken one from throwing a glide on it. I had no business throwing on it. So my fault. It had nothing to do with the rod. Other than that, the rest of the rods are still great. And they're, again, at $200 are relatively cheap. I do believe that for Douglas, their LRS series, you can also get a suitable swim bait rated rod, like their 805 FD. I have the 805F before they added the detachable handle, which is a lot longer, better balance. Especially like the length of the butt end of the rod where it grabs your whole forearm. So you have like a lot more leverage and control over working a bigger bait. And I'll be getting that 805 FD this year. I know they're making the X Matrix, but that's not beginner. That's a phenomenal rod. It's my favorite. It's my go-to. I throw as much as I can on that. The LRS is a little bit more palatable, and that'll probably set you back $230. I'm thinking somewhere a little north of $200 for that. Phenomenal rod, feels great. Sensitivity on it is good. And they've got a couple of different options, both they have a 3 to 7 ounce is that 805 FD. And again, that's one I have. I can throw almost anything I own on that. 10-inch glides, I end up using my Lew's Super Duty that's rated 4 to 10 ounces. I feel a lot more comfortable throwing those on that. For a reel, I have only used the Lew's Super Duty 300s. I have not heard a single bad thing said about anything from Shimano or Daiwa that is in that 300 size series reel. You cannot go wrong with any of those. For the Lew's Super Duties, they're $200. I have the 300 and the 300 wide spool. I don't know if they still offer the 300 wide. It's great. It's a little overkill. You don't need to go that big. Just their standard 300 is phenomenal. My method on reels that start to show a lack of performance is not to clean them, to throw them out and buy a new reel. It's a terrible habit, but that's where I'm at. And I have 4 right now of those Lew's Super Duty 300s. The first 3 of them I bought 5 years ago. And then I bought the 4th one a year after that. Maybe 6 years now that I've had some of these. I think it was 6 years ago. And then my 3rd the year after that, my 4th the year after that. They all still work flawlessly. And I've literally not done a single thing for maintenance on any of these, and they're still just absolutely killing it. So I can speak extremely highly of that. I know guys that like live and die by the swim bait game, and they usually have much nicer, higher end stuff, and they've gone on their way to try to lose Super Duty just to see like what it's like. And I've heard phenomenal feedback from those guys as well. It's a very budget friendly, like tried and true workhorse swim bait reel, so you cannot go wrong with that. And then beyond that, for line, I am a huge fan of the Defiant soft casting 23.6 pound, because it's not stretchy like mono, but it's stretchier than your standard fluoro. And for me, I like that because it just gives me a little bit more cushion for room for error on a bad cast. And I've never broken anything off on that. I don't think that I can recall ever lost a fish on it either. I throw some stuff on the 18.4 pound heavy cover as well. If I'm throwing smaller stuff, like if I'm going to throw a crank down about this size, like a 6 to 7 inch crank down or a 7-inch glide, like I'll probably throw it on the 18 pound and I'll the heavy cover specifically, and I'll feel fine about that. But I tell you what, that is everything I could recommend for at least a beginner to get into it. And it's not exactly cheap either, but it's not bad. There you go, Alec. LRS 805FD retails for $229. So that's pretty close. I think I said $230. Pretty good. Bear with me as I go through. I've got more comments already, but I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. I saw meat and I almost started saying that. There we go. All right. Even more from that. So get rid of that. Grab that. Mark, Northeast Bass Fishing. Speaking of the Cape, my family is discussing a summer vacation rental there. Is it worth bringing my boat with me, bass boat friendly, or I could bring my small electric boat? Thanks. I'm pretty sure somebody already addressed this, but I have looked into similar situations like on Winnie to be able to use some of the town-owned docks up there. I have specifically found rentals that just by being a renter in there, they have an agreement with the town or whoever the hell it is that owns the nearby ramp or like town beach that, hey, I own the house, but I also rent it. And I would like for the people that rent it to be able to, have the same liberties that I would if I were here. And it's no additional strain on resources or people using it because I'm not there. Somebody's there in my place. And they allow that. I found a couple houses on Winnie that like, if you stay here, you can use this town dock and use that parking spot. You have a little pass that you put in your car. I'm like, okay, that's sick. So Mark, I would assume you could find the same thing. Kyle, again, if you like the lakes with dense aquatic vegetation, you definitely should try Quabog Pond in Brookfield. F that lake. I'm never going back. Chew on that for a second while I get some water. It is. I went there once for a Ben's Tackle Shack tournament in October. And I personally try to avoid places like that at the end of the year when I'm like forced to fish, because shallower bodies of water like that, and that place is so stupid shallow, are just so volatile and like highly impacted by volatile weather. And the tournament, then that overnight, we had an insane cold front come through and the place was just dead. Place looked cool though. And the thing is, like, I like dense aquatic vegetation in bodies of water that also offer like deeper water. And like I feel like there's really there's more narrow bands of opportunity to really make the most of a body of water like that by comparison to a place that has at least some deeper water adjacent to, in the middle of the lake with a ton of dense aquatic vegetation around that. When it's just a shallow pit that's nothing but grass end to end, I'm not a huge fan of that. I like diversity in the bodies of water that I fish. So I don't foresee myself going back there. Chris Curtis, hey buddy. I like your wallpaper. What is that behind you? It's pretty cool. Thank you. That is the new banner that we had for the Expo, and I'll be bringing it to the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo as well, which again, March 7th to 9th at the Hampshire Dome in Milford, New Hampshire. Be there all weekend. It's going to be great. Drew, what is your preferred setup for Damiki rigging? Medium or medium light? Ooh, medium. Medium. What is that new Douglas Era rod? It's a 610, I think. It's their jerkbait / topwater model. That is a medium, but it feels more like a medium light. I like it. It's nice. I really like that for a Damiki rig. Because the thing is, like, sometimes on a Damiki rig, one of my favorite things about it is those bites tend to be violent. Doesn't matter what kind of rod you have on. If you're just vertical dropping it, And I'm assuming that's what you mean by Demiki, because people call mid-strolling Demikiing as well. So I'm going to assume you mean in the vertical drop sense of Demiki fishing. And when they bite it, even on like a medium heavy rod, the whole rod just goes like, it's crazy how hard they hit it. And you can watch them even on 2D sonar. They come up and they sit on your bait for like 10 plus seconds, and all of a sudden the whole rod just but there's sometimes they'll come up and they'll just nip it, and you can just barely see the rod tip kind of quiver a little bit, and you really can't feel it. On that error rod, I like it a lot better because even on those really, really, really gentle bites, because that rod is so supple, like it moves a lot. Other than that, I like the 724 XF from Douglas. So it's a 7.2 medium heavy extra fast. And then I have the 763 XF from Douglas, which is both those are the X Matrix models. It's the 7'6" medium extra fast, not a medium heavy. The only thing is, like, it's kind of long. Give me a 7.2 medium extra fast for a Demiki, and a little shorter, a little bit longer, somewhere in that, where it's got just enough backbone that you can lean into them and kind of fight with them a little bit, but not so long that, like, if you're trying to drop straight down right underneath your feet. I'm not hanging the rod so freaking far away from me. And then it's easier to get them into the boat anyway after that point. But man, I like that. Anywhere like 7 to 7.2 medium extra fast. I'm a huge fan of that. Is nice. I am desperately trying to keep up with you guys. This is phenomenal. Thank you. Spent 2 weeks there I spent 2 weeks there one afternoon. Agree with Sean, not my favorite. Yeah, I'm assuming an hours, but I'm gonna go with that. I like it. Ah. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. There was that one. Got that. Chris, that is so cool. I like how you did that this year. There's your new wallpaper. No, it's not wallpaper. It's literally just a banner behind me. It's not the right format to be a wallpaper for any of my screens. So I don't know. Oh, okay. Hang on, Drew. I'm coming back to you. I saw what you meant. Let me just grab Henry. What's up, buddy? Ooh, there we go. And okay. Ooh, that was a good one. There was that. There it is. True. Mid strolling, casting out, reeling back. 763. I like a medium on that, but I want extra fast, and I want the extra length on it too, because I go really light line on that when I'm doing that. I like that 7.6 rod for that because I like throwing really light weights when I'm doing that too. Like, I really like throwing a 1/8 ounce ball jig when I'm mid strolling, when I can get away with it, when the conditions allow for it. But even with that 7.6, like, I can still throw a 1/2 ounce jig head on that, and I have, if I'm fishing like deep and in heavier, more volatile conditions, then just mid strolling that back has been really good. I can throw a hair jig on that and just straight swim that back, and it works phenomenal. There's something about that 763, that 7.6 medium extra fast rod that's just got the best of everything for me. But specifically for mid strolling, it's my favorite. I have 2 of them. I'm going to be adding a third this year because I also really like it for my, like, anything ultralight, my super finesse stuff. It works really, really well. I like it for drop shots. It's a little bit longer than I would typically like. I'm more of a fan of a 7.2 for a drop shot, but I like that 7.6 so much that I'm going to be picking up a third this year. But what I'm going to try and do is, instead of adding more X matrices to the lineup, I am going to grab an LRS. I'd like to be able to continue to explore like a bunch of different models from all 3 that Douglas have to offer. And I tell you, because I'm still sponsored by Luz, I use them for all my reels. I think I might pick up one of those Elite TI rods this year because I'm curious to see where does that fit in the overall, like, comparison of quality to everything else I use. I'd like to be able to have more references, frame of reference, when I'm talking about, this rod is great for this reason. So I've used everything else that Luz has up through their signature series. I'd like to try that Elite TI rod just so I can try, like, what is their best of the best rod. There might be one more between the signature series and the Elite TI. I might look into that as well. And honestly, I'll probably just pick up a jig rod variant of that because there's no other technique I could pick up that I'm going to use a lot to be able to definitively say what I do and do not like about it. Or maybe a drop shot rod too. Either way, kind of can't go wrong with either one of those. Tim, you drop your boat in a lake you've never fished before, say you have no knowledge of this lake. What's your approach to solve the mystery and develop a pattern? Thanks. Okay. I did this topic at the New England Expo. There's the one seminar stage topic that I did. I'm going to do this again at the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. So I can give you guys like an hour of how I do this. New Hampshire, I'm going to bring my presentation. And if I screw up, it's okay. I live 3 minutes away. I'll go back home and get it. But I start with maps. Very first thing. And this is what Andrew and I have done for a very long time. We like, you know what? Let's go somewhere new. And we'll start with satellite. Go to Google Maps. Look around. Like, you know what? That place sounds cool. Let's go there. It looks cool. It's a different place. Never been there. Reasonable drive. Depth chart. It's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to keep in mind the time of the year, and which will give me an idea as to, generally speaking, where the fish should be. And we always base our decision on if we want to go for largemouth or smallmouth, and that's going to help that. So first thing I'm going to do, regardless, smallmouth or largemouth, I'm going to look at depth charts. I'm going to see what it has to offer. I'll probably do a little bit of online searching. I will absolutely look at whatever the Fish and Game website is for that state and see if they have a list of what all the forage is. So I can see like what are the primary forage that is listed. Is it primarily, if it's largemouth, I'm curious. Is it mostly shiners or is it mostly yellow perch or bluegill or crappie? Is there a white perch present? I want to know the full range of everything that those fish are potentially eating. Then if I'm going largemouth, I'm going to go to Google Earth and I'm going to go through, and I use the desktop version of that because you can go backwards and you can look at satellite imagery that they took, over the decades. And those are all taken at different times of the year. So any body of water you pick, I guarantee you can get a really good quality image, satellite image of it at all 4 seasons of the year. So if you want to go somewhere new and you're like, I want to go for largemouth up shallow, you can see what that aquatic shallow vegetation looks like as it progresses from, coming out as winter into that summer. Like, where is it at its thickest? How much does it expand? And then if you're there earlier in the year, like, okay, I can be fishing over the top of that stuff. So there's a lot of computer research before I even leave my house. And then once I kind of hone that in, then I take into consideration, again, what largies or smallies. Am I going to go out deep? Am I going to go shallow? I can tell from satellite imagery generally what the color, the water color is, what that clarity is. So it gives me ideas to what to start throwing between, knowing water clarity and what the primary forage is there. I can already get an idea as to what techniques I want to go with and what colors they should be. And then I'm going to set up a mix of moving baits, variety of them that are appropriate for that time of the year, and a variety of really subtle finesse presentations. I want a good mix of being able to cover a lot of water, but then stop in areas that I identified as my highest probability of success, and be able to pick those spots apart too. And especially, as soon as I get a fish on something, like, okay, well, what was I doing? I want to be able to kind of pick apart that area in a little bit more depth. Generally, you catch one fish in a spot, you're gonna be able to catch more. So I want to be able to slow down and start picking that apart. That is the gist of how I approach a new body of water. Hours of research at home before I even leave. And to me, that's the most important thing. You go back through, grab this. Drew, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. You do need an official badge now. I don't know when that kicks in, but it's going to kick in soon. So thank you, man. I appreciate that. That was another good one. That's another good one. Sorry, I'm just going through looking for more comments to snag. Yeah, Freddie is absolutely spot on about that. But okay, let's go this way. Mike, does Defiant offer a black braid? No, they only offer a very dark green braid currently. I would like to think that they're going to offer something high vis eventually, but I don't actually know of anybody that offers a black braid. I've seen a really dark gray from Seagar, but I can't say I've seen black. I'm curious about that. Dropman, have you used the 744XF? Yes, I have. I like that rod. It is a broomstick. When I was up at the New Hampshire Bass Nation State Team Qualifying Tournament up on Champlain, that 2-day event this past September, one of the best bites I got on was throwing a wobblehead with Flippin' Delight or the, and I didn't tell anybody that at the time, but that was working for me really well. Or the Strike King Rage Bug. And I was primarily throwing on that 744. Because the way, like the hooks that I had, they were stout. And, more importantly, even though they're extra wide gap, those Strike King ones, those structure heads on their swing heads, there's not a whole lot of gap between the curve in the hook and where the little stubby hook point comes out. And I've lost fish because of that, from not throwing it on something heavy enough. And coupled the fact that I was fishing around, it's Champlain, so it's nothing but ledge and a lot of receiver muscles. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw it on my 744 because I've got the 18.4 pound heavy cover, and that's a stout rod. So like when they were hitting it, dude, I was trying to crack their skulls open, and I didn't lose a single fish on that. And then more importantly, because the stoutness of that rod and the stoutness of that line, knowing that, you know, Bass Nation now at the state team qualifying tournament level and up, you're not allowed to use nets. They follow like Bass rules, period, on that. So I was like, yeah, I want something heavy I can swing them in every time without thinking about it. Didn't lose a single fish doing that. And I felt like a champ too every time I was flipping in, because that rod just could handle it with ease. I mean, with absolute ease. I do love that rod. Is a very good one. Let's see. Oh, Dan, thanks guys for all you do to help the fishing community. Hey, you're very welcome. You say guys, plural. It's just me, bud. Just me here. But you know what? I'm going to echo what Alex said. Thank you for putting on another phenomenal expo. It was good. I appreciate it, man. It was phenomenal. Ooh, would this be fine for forward-facing sonar being stout? Yep. As long as you got your reel appropriate, like appropriately dialed in for like quick little short pitches right in front of you. Yeah, there was it's funny because for me, when I was at that STQT, I was using forward facing sonar a lot for my finesse stuff, but for when I was pulling out that swing head, I was really just focused on making sure the bait fish were around the hard structure I was fishing. And if I saw a big fish, like, yeah, 100% cast that. I'm in a tournament, like, you know, anything goes. But I wasn't like sitting there honing in and trying to cast with this heavy setup at every single fish I saw. I knew the structure where they were hanging. I just need to make sure that at least the bait fish were still present. As soon as the schools of bait fish disappeared, I wasn't getting bit. But there was one instance, and I posted a short of it on Instagram, and I'm standing right at the front, and I'm like, oh, there's one right there. And I pitched it maybe 20, 25 feet out in front of me in like, I don't know, 7 or 8 feet of water. And like within, I think it was 2 seconds later, I'm like, yup. And I busted that thing's head on that rod. And it was amazing. I hit him so hard and he hit so hard back. It was a 4 low. I think it was a 4 1/4 smallie is what ended up being my biggest for the day. He turned and he got angry. So, but yeah, it worked. Drew, we all have the same passion and love for fishing, so why not support each other? Thanks for hosting a great show, Dan. Yeah. Oh, thank you, man. And you are spot on there. Okay, grab that. Oh, there you go, Henry. Power Pro makes a braid colored onyx. It's black. There you go. That'll work. I see a Fireline and Spider Wire. I don't recommend those. I can't. It's been a long time since I've used it, but no. Oh, Dropman. You're talking about a spinning rod for a 744. I haven't used that one, so I'm not really sure. I've used the casting setup. It is nice, but I have not used it on the spinning setup. Bo Potato. Hey, buddy. How do you replace the only tournament partner you've had for the last 30 years? I don't know, man. I can't figure it out because I got the same issue. Granted, mine's not 30 years. Mine's last 15 years. And I don't, not quite 15 years. It's been a while. Jesus, wait a minute. What was that? 2009? Now 13 years. No, it was 2012. This is really when we first got started fishing together, when we started bouncing into tournaments, Andrew and I don't know, you know, because typically what you find in a good tournament partner is somebody that you just enjoy being around all the time. And then your fishing styles complement each other well. And in the sense that like, I can fish in 3 inches of water all day, or I can fish in 80 feet all day. And I can fish with a broomstick, or I can fish with a little tickle stick. Doesn't matter. Because it's something I've worked very hard to be able to do, that I'm extremely comfortable and confident in fishing that whole range. And it's nice being able to fish with somebody like Andrew, because he could do the same exact thing. So we dial in a bite, we could fish polar opposite from each other, but then the moment we figured it out, we could both switch to do the exact same thing and make the most of the day, and, you know, put ourselves in the best possible position to do well. I don't know how you replace that, because it takes years to even figure out that you have that kind of chemistry. Then there's, you know, just the whole mental aspect where like the two of you act around each other without even thinking. You know, like something's going on. He sees something in the graph and he's just like, hang on. He just steps in, put on the trolling motor, and like we just go and we go about it. And I trust his judgment explicitly. So it's like, yeah. And then, okay, so he's your father. That's even more difficult to replace. That ain't easy, man. Brandon, what transducer are you using for forward facing sonar? I am still on Active Target 1. It is not the best, but it's still pretty damn good. And I really enjoy it. I'm happy with it. I would really like to upgrade to Active Target 2 this year, but there's other things that I need to figure out. So I don't know. I got other things I want to upgrade on the boat first. So it's not a necessity. I'd like to get another 9-inch graph on the boat too. So I have 2 9s at the helm. Love to go bigger, but like honestly, I get by just fine with 1 9. Having a second 9 would be like phenomenal for breaking down new water. So I'd like to go that route. But all that's got to come before I get Active Target 2. Unless my Active Target craps the bed, in which case I'll just go buy Active Target 2 the next day. I know it's not as good as the Garmin, but I don't want 3 brands up front. I got my Mega 360. I got Lowrance for mapping and the 2D sonar. So I don't want to add a Garmin, even though it's better than everybody by a mile. So that's why I'm still running Lowrance for mine. Cappy, hey buddy. Appreciate what you do for the local fishing community. Let's connect at the end of this week, please. Yes, sir. I will reach out to you probably Friday. This weekend's going to be a bit of a crapshoot. I got a lot of stuff to do at the house. I got to wrap up some projects before the season really gets underway, or else it's never going to get done. But thank you. And yes, I will absolutely reach out. Dan, I'm impressed with the growth of ReelNorthernBass. I love the parts of the seminars he's able to catch. Well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate everybody that came out to listen to me rant and ramble. That's the most surprising thing. You know, like the very first seminar I did for the New England show, I forget how many years ago it was, 3 or 4 years ago. I've never been good about public speaking, like ever, but I've only ever had it in situations where I had to talk about something I was not well educated on, and most certainly not passionate about. And the first time I got up on the hog trough, I had a crowd, and I was like, whoa. I'm not ready for this. I'm not like this. I thought there's gonna be like 5 people. That's what I was anticipating. And I was shaking like a leaf for like 10 seconds. And I was like, well, hang on. Regardless of how many people are here, 5 or 100, and it wasn't 100. Just example. I would have been nervous initially, but I have nothing to be nervous about. I'm talking about something I love. More importantly, I'm talking to people that are in love with it. Like they want to hear about this. They're all here for the same damn reason I'm here. We love this shit. So what the hell am I nervous about? I'm essentially talking to friends. And just all nerves gone. I've never once been nervous about getting back up on that to hog trough or the stage seminar stage. Wow, brain. Trying to read while talk. It's never a good skill of mine. There you go, Henry. I have both, Sean. Garmin overall is better, but Active Target has better bottom separation. You will definitely see more fish on bottom with it. Okay, so I'm really glad you said that because that's one of the things that people ask me about a lot. Like, hey man, when they're pinned to the bottom, like, how do you know? And I'm like, I can see them. And there's been a good amount of people that like kind of give me like this, are you sure you do kind of reaction? And I just take it in stride because, it's, you can only explain what you know and what you've experienced. And I've got mine dialed that I can 100% see when a fish is like belly scraping the bottom. There's just enough there visually for me to understand, oh yeah, no, they're pinned, but I can see them. And it takes a bit of a practice eye. And I'm sure having the 16-inch graph helps with that a little bit. But that is something I've noticed about the Lowrance. And I'm just curious to see how much better the Active Target 2 is. I've heard it's definitely better. Maybe not, like leagues better, but definitely better. Drew, I got to see your seminar on Saturday about cold water fishing. Great job. Thank you. That was a fun one. Something I've talked about a lot. So I didn't even have to think. Like my wife's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, cold water fishing. She's like, you good? You need to prep? I'm like, no. I've talked about it so much, and it's something I love because I had to bust my ass to figure it out and get pretty good at it. And so I it's just something I'm thinking about all the time. We do it so much because there's so much cold water opportunity here in the greater Northeast. So got up there and I'm like, yep, I know exactly what I want to talk about. And so that was an easy one for me. Again, it's something I talk about a lot. David, thank you, buddy. Any bass addict. Don't forget to drop a like, please. For those that showed up here and towards the tail end of the stream, I appreciate you guys for doing that. Was it just Freddie? Have a good night. Okay, yeah, I did get that one. Yep, sorry, got that one already. Tim again. Have chatterbaits replaced spinnerbaits with the pros? Yes, no, and why? boy, no. I'm going to say no, definitely not. I think that they have greatly supplemented that specific bite window where you're trying to cover water. I do think that the chatterbait has a little bit more versatility than the spinnerbait, but straight up replaced it? No, absolutely not. The spinnerbait is still a phenomenal bait. And I tell you what, if you guys are not throwing a spinnerbait when the wind's blowing, then you are doing something wrong. Doesn't always work, but it works often enough that if there's like any ripple in the water, I have a spinnerbait tied on every time, and I'm going to throw the hell out of it for at least an hour or two before I will give up on it. And they tell me, no, we're not doing that today, but it's not that often. Ooh, Drawman getting the new Explorer Mega Live 2 this year. I am curious to see the difference between Mega Live and Mega Live 2 because I was not impressed with Mega Live. It was difficult. I had a hard time seeing anything on there. That's for sure. There you go, Alec. I caught more big fish on the spinnerbait last year than the chatterbait. So for me, the chatterbait still outperformed the spinnerbait, but that's kind of a rare occasion. Usually it's going to be the spinnerbait for me that gets more bigger fish. Although I caught more big fish on the chatterbait, specifically the jackhammer this year for big smallmouth, which was awesome. Caught that 569 smallie. It was my biggest New England smallmouth this year. New York is not part of New England. New York is part of the Northeast. It's not New England. That was a different animal. But yeah, New Hampshire smallie 5.69 on the bladed jig. That was phenomenal. I usually catch really big smallmouth on spinnerbaits. Catch both big largies and smallies on it, but typically the bulk of like bigs come more on the spinnerbait for largemouth and smallmouth. And then, not too far behind is chatterbait, but chatterbait outperformed on the smallies this year. That is for sure. Just saw another one. Mark, Champlain and May, are you going smallies or largies launching in Thai? Oh, God, dude, that's actually a really hard question. Because you're kind of prime time for both. Even though the smallies aren't in Thai, you're not that far away from where they are. You don't have to run that far north. But I would still go largies because you've got from Town Farm Bay all the way to South Bay. Is going to be stupid good for largemouth there at that time of the year. April into May, it's just dumb. And I've only fished down there 3 times at that time of the year. And 2 of those times were only for a couple hours. So, and the other 3rd time was in the tournament. So, I agree with Henry. Smallmouth up north, really, if you want to go smallies, I would go north because it's stupid good up there. But you can still get good smallies not too far north from Crown Point. It's a decent run. You probably run 20, 25 minutes, which on Champlain is nothing. You get some good smallies. But if you're down in Thai, dude, largies all day. All friggin' day. And it's going to be so good. Oh, man, I'm getting excited to go back up there. I'm doing a lot of Champlain fishing in the spring. I'm going to save all the main fishing trips for summer and into the fall this year. I'm going to be going back to Vermont a lot, especially Champlain. A couple of tournaments. I'm going to do that Ticonderoga Bass Open. That'd be fun. I'm looking. Who else did I miss? Mainstream fishing. How you doing, Bud? Yeah, there you go, Alec. I got the 5-pound river smallie on the chatterbait, and the other one was spinnerbait. Hell yeah, that's what I like. East Stack, biggest northern largemouth came on a spinnerbait, 7.4. That's a big one. I've only got 1 7-pound largemouth, and it was on a stupid Senko. At least it was Nico rig, so it's kind of cool. My biggest spinnerbait largemouth was 6.25. Is that true? Yes, that is true. Wow. Actually, yeah. Damn. Now I think about it, the bulk of my 6-pound plus largemouth, all 6s, have come on a jackhammer. Only 2, a 6.25 and a 6.2, 6 pounds 2 ounces came on a spinnerbait. And I got a couple in big swim baits, and it's still big swim bait. Working class 0 citizen 6. That's 6.11 I caught 2 years ago. That was awesome. That was great. There we go. Sean Place. If I had to choose one glide, wake, or big soft bait swim bait. Oh, big soft swim bait. If I had to choose between any one of those, because I can do everything with it. And one of my favorite things to do with it is fish it like a jig. That's how I got that 6.11 largie on the Citizen 6 a couple of years ago. And that's how I caught the bulk of my fish on bigger soft body swim baits. But then, if you get them up shallow in the veggies, you can just straight swim it. And I can go through everything. I can literally work the entire water column, and I can work any and all structure with a big soft body swim bait. I will choose that 10 out of 10 times. And you catch mixed bags down south pre-spawn. Oh, okay, good to know. I have heard from a couple of people that you can catch good smallmouth down there, like down towards Thai, but it wasn't enough for me to definitively say yes. I do know that without a shadow of a doubt, the largemouth down there are phenomenal. So that's good to know. There's some good smallies down there as well. That's good. LP Bass. I don't talk to people about chatterbaits and smallmouth. Most miss it. Like the smallmouth miss it, which I could see. Yeah, the right trailer on there, but I do pretty well with the jackhammer and the smallies. They chew, they hammer it. It's great. Andy Bass Act. I pick up some new Defiant spinnerbaits at the Expo. Really excited to throw those when the wind gets ripping in the spring. I need to pick up my own fair share of those because I am actually, it's right there. I got a big old spinnerbait box, and I screwed up and I forgot to find stuff for spinnerbaits until after I did my seminar on cold water stuff, and not only cold water but like big bass producing baits. And spinnerbait was a big thing for that. I didn't have a Defiant spinnerbait to show off for that, unfortunately. But going through my spinnerbait box, and I was like, oh. A lot of these are in really rough shape. So it's time. I gotta replace a bunch of them. I think some of them are really rusty. The skirts are all starting to dry out and fall apart. Yeah, I need to get that done. Chris, do you steer fish up to Lakeshore Parade? I'm not sure where that is. You have to elaborate, please. Mark, favorite wobblehead setup, rod, reel, line, baits. You know what? I really like that Douglas 745F or the 715F. If I'm going like a 5/8 ounce or heavier, give me that Douglas 745F. 7.4, heavy, fast. Like, give me a broomstick. I don't want to just bust their heads. But if I need to be a little bit more nimble and more methodical, and I'm more about feel as I'm going through structure, then give me anywhere from a 7 to 7.4 medium heavy fast rod as well. And straight 15.5 pound fluorocarbon. I would rather fish that straight on fluoro where I'm going to be bottom bouncing through all that structure. That's that's my favorite setup. And then give me a really high speed reel ratio too. Like I want 8.1 or higher. That's my favorite setup. I did a lot of that this year. Illuminati. How are you fishing glide bait and river system with current? Tell you what, I'm not going to answer that because I asked my buddy there, Sean Place, who's also on the Big Bass Dreams team, to come on to talk about a number of things. And that's something I would actually like for him to talk about as well, because I think he would be pretty good to answer that. I do not fish a glide in a river system. I've never done it. I rarely fish river systems as it is. So I think we can get somebody else that'd be more well-rounded and experienced in that we can get that answered. Drew, I want to try wobblehead more this season in Carolina rig. Dude, Carolina rig is still just so good. I strongly recommend you do a lot more of that. I still catch a lot of fish on that every year. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, Sean, gonna try my HUD technique for hooking them? Yep. That was so eye-opening for you to say that when we were at the show. And I was like, oh. Yep. Okay. So no, that was extremely helpful. Thank you. I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to make the most of that this year. Drop it. Beast Coast could discontinue the Vanquish jig, but that means new jig in a few months. Yes, I am sad about that, but yes, also excited about the new one. I really can't wait to see it. And I hope he keeps me in the loop on that because that's my favorite jig to throw. So I'm really curious to see what the new one's going to be able to do for me. Oh, LP. Most people miss out on using the chatterbait for smallmouth. Yep. That they do. Carl, Sean, speaking of wobbleheads, curious as to why guys think on lead versus tungsten. Does the smaller tungsten become less productive? The lead attracts the loons, Carl. That's good. Oh man. I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of structure you're going through on it. And then at that point, I think it's just the same as any other instance where you're going tungsten versus lead. For me, most of my swing head fishing or wobble head fishing that I'm doing, like I'm going heavy. I want that thing definitively on the bottom, and I'm keeping it on the bottom, but I'm moving it fast, so I want really heavy. So going to lead still and not having that tungsten feel is fine. And honestly, I do think there is something to be said about the size of that head being better for getting through and over the top of some of that structure as well. Food for thought. It depends. Like if I'm in New Hampshire and I know I'm fishing, I don't know, like any of the lakes region. I mean, there's still, don't get me wrong, plenty of gnarly rocks there that can get you caught up, but they're not like really handsy and grabby like you get in Vermont and other places. So New Hampshire, I'd probably rather have tungsten, because I'd be fishing it. I would rather have tungsten in areas I'm fishing a mix between sand and like smaller rock. But if I'm fishing anything sizable in that hard structure, then just give me lead all day. Or sorry, a non-lead alternative. Ooh, okay, there's that. Yeah, and then Dave's point too. Then it's also less expensive when you do break it off. It happens a lot with swing heads. He is not wrong. I hang those things up like crazy. It's bad. Oh, all right. I'll tell you what, this has been phenomenal. You guys were awesome. I wanted to keep this to about an hour because it's been a long week. I'm still recovering from the expo. Dude, the expo was amazing. I can't thank you all enough for the continued support you show me for what I'm doing here, and what we're doing moving forward. I am way behind on making normal content, but I also haven't fished in 2 months. No, month and a half, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the hell it is. I haven't fished since right before Christmas. And I don't know when I'm going to get back out again. Hopefully sooner than later. That's for damn sure. But what I'm going to do is I have a jig fishing 101 series that I started and made the first of 4 videos in August of 2023. I'm going to finish that. I'm going to get that done. And I'm going to try and time that to release it like right around the same time I get off for my first trip. Cause I want to drop like all 4, like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and not make people sit and wait on this forever. So, and then, Wednesday, I don't want to interrupt the flow of the stream. So that's why the little bit of a gap in the middle there. And that's something I've talked about it so many times, but I've always had this desire, hence starting it a year and a half ago, to do like my own version of a 101 on it and cover like the whole thing. It's too much to do in one single or even 2 videos. So I think I broke it down in a really good way that makes sense. Depending upon what aspect of jig fishing you want to learn about, like one of those videos will cover it. And each one of those will probably be like 15-ish minutes long. So all said and done, about an hour. It's almost like a condensed live stream into a much more informative video with a lot more demonstrations, a lot more graphics, like the whole 9 yards. So there's that. And then I'm hoping just to get back to fishing in general. I might try and do a little, I don't know what I'm going to do in Florida other than fish. Might just relax, not try to bring any, not bring any equipment with me for filming. So I don't know. We'll see. So Drew, thank you again very much for being a supporter on there. I appreciate that. Carl, thank you. Both Carls. Vance, I haven't caught in a bass way too long. Yeah. A lot of us, buddy. Yeah, Dave, might have missed the beginning. Do you have any leftover merch from the expo? I forget the total number of flannels we brought, but I want to say it was in the neighborhood of 40. I have 1 left. Same deal on the number of hoodies we brought. We may have had more than that, and we have 4 left, and they're all of one size. For some reason, extra large and hoodies doesn't move as much, but like all the extra larges and the flannels went stupid fast. So maybe it's because people like to go 1-up size on the hoodies. I'm not sure, but we'll have like the whole thing of all the apparel restocked for the New Hampshire show. And again, sun shirts. You guys have been asking for years. I'm going to get it done. We're going to have it for the New Hampshire show. Please, again, Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to post to both of those places and show you guys like what it is I'm looking at. Color options. I want feedback so I can figure out, what's the best way to tackle this. And we'll go from there. Yeah, Alec, 2X hoodie sold out in like an hour. Those went like immediately. So there's that. Thank you all very much for watching tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I have no idea what the hell we're going to do next week for the show, but I'll figure something out. I always do. Figure out something fun to talk about, maybe something different, maybe get a guest on here. Who knows? Yes, Vance, it'll be a hooded sun shirt. I refuse to buy anything else. Hooded sun shirt is the best sun shirt. Carl, no, I'm not going to the Springfield show. I'm only going to be doing the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. And then, you know what? I'm going to put this one up because footy fan. Circle logo on the sun shirt. Yeah, I am primarily just doing the circle logo. I love the alternate square logo. Get over there. Like it's good for a number of reasons. It gives me flexibility depending upon like kind of, I guess, what content I'm trying to do. Plus, like, being able to do Hang on. Yoink. It's upside down, but you get the gist of it. You know, being able to take it and modify it. So like I can just kind of expand upon the flexibility of what you can do versus the circle logo. But it's very clear everybody loves the circle logo more than anything. So it's just gonna be the circle logo on that. I honestly, it's probably going to be exactly what the hoodie looks like. Circle logo on the chest, ReelNorthernBass down the sleeve. Because I'm not gonna lie, it looks good. I like it a lot. And you know how much of a pain in the ass it was to draw that? I'm not an artist. That was hard. That was really hard. And then to modify the font to be able to make the spacing work in a way that I felt it looked good. What a pain in my butt. Not what I was about to say, but you know what I meant to say. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching tonight. Greatly appreciated as always. For anybody that's new here, please subscribe. Or if you're watching on Facebook, please follow me there. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you again to everybody that dropped a like, regardless where you're watching, Facebook or YouTube, doesn't matter. See you guys next Wednesday at 8 p.m. As always, I'll get this up on Spotify tonight. It'll be there in the morning for anybody that only caught parts of it and want to listen to the whole thing during the drive. See how it goes. Everybody, have a great night.